Fair. It's only fair. Ding, ding. Welcome to a Freaky Friday. InShalla and Ashe. Blessings to you, my energetic beings. I just love saying that one out loud. But holla, and welcome back to today's Daily Snippet. I am your host. I am a practicing holistic medium and subtle energetic surgeon. My intention is to use the power of the indigenous technologies, your original blueprint, to navigate your soul's harmonic through the realm of the elementals, from the elemental highway into these imaginal realms, the subtle energies, the elements, the elemental beings, with offerings, rituals, and prescriptions to add to your personal container. My intention truly is to merge the wisdom of these indigenous technologies, shamanism basically, with the subtle realms and the etheric highway to assist you into navigating your prime directive, your inner genius, really just reintroducing you to the magical being that resides within. I call myself a holistic medium, Sha medium. My name is Tanya D, and welcome to my virtual medicine room. So the frequency of the day is where our faith and our intuition, the other world, is really ruling that energy, that frequency, connecting us to our higher self, our Sira. It's going to feel a little more natural as we bump up and allow our intuition to kind of weigh in on our who we are, our action plan, our characters, our behaviors, and just going along with our core processor, our heart, along with a logical aspect, Spock. That's kind of what I see it as, Spock from Star Trek, where we can focus or hone in on the details and get the direction that we want to go on, or the path that we choose moving forward throughout this year into the next. So our solar plexus, the will center, our mental clarity, along with our emotional empathy, they're sensing through these thread waves, these streams, that anything that like feels off, so we can utilize prayer, meditation, the Great Spirit, our ancestors, the other world, to really connect to and through, and ask for guidance to continue on our earth journey, the earth plane, the school, right? But being that the moon is on her way to the bounty Libra, our emotions are looking to be actually balanced and fair with integrity. So we'll be able to hear our intuition, that verbal intuition. Our throat center's online, and then our heart literally is going to open up and receive those messages from the universe, the Great Spirit, if we are listening and open to receive the memo. So also with that, if you haven't already, please be kind and do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Tanya D. Love that. Go ahead and hit the bell button so you too are notified. And also, if you don't mind, I'd be really grateful if you would like or comment on my videos, so that algorithm on YouTube will really echo me out to suggest me to other musers like yourself in the galactic universe, along with the social channels, my Instagram, TikTok, my podcast, Musing with Tanya D. And if you too wish to dive deeper, head on over to my Musing Corridor, where I have offerings to actually guide you. I am your holistic shaman medium assistant, the Sha medium. You are really your own healer, but sometimes we need a shamanic life coach to see beyond the beyond, a new perspective, a higher perspective, wherever you are at. And I will for sure, absolutely 100% meet you there. But with the energy of the day and being on the cusp of this full moon, let me just get excited here. There I am, super cute. We have, I brought in the shaman's oracle, the mystic, the pagans, the druids, the medicine people of the old ways. And we all have sacred medicine, by the way, in our chalice. We're not, we just have to open that corridor, right? But first, we have fire, which I find curious. And it is a season of fire. It is a fire year. But we are... Fire is also Mars. Fire is medicine. It's a different kind of medicine, right? It's the other world. It's sourcing. It's the beings that live in the other world. It is our ancestors. And if you've been listening to any of my podcasts, I've been talking about all the different aspects of fire. But fire is consuming. It consumes anything that it touches. And these flames remind us of the fated ephemeral kind of nature of reality and how situations can quickly transform into either beauty or to chaos. But fire is passion, it's a dancing flame. And these flames are inviting us to literally reach out to the sky. Fire needs air, right? It's also warmth, it's light, it's passion, and it brings the juice of the heavenly realm, the ancestor realm, the rays of the sun literally down upon us. However, too much heat, if you've been listening to my elementals, too much heat can actually scorch us and the earth herself, especially yin wood. To really fully step into the energy of fire is to really be transformed, utterly transformed, like the phoenix who rises from the ashes. And those ashes actually come from the south. It's Pluto, it's the scorpion, it's also the snake rising to the phoenix, like transforming in those different aspects. And has anyone seen the video on Rumble about the snake venom? That is also curious. And I also sense that that too is Pluto being in Capricorn. Just kind of musing out loud. But being that this card, this message is otherworldly, it's like, are we feeling a little too fiery? Have we been reactive or short-tempered towards the other? You know, we are in Aries, that is action. So these messages are coming in to tell us that all of these fiery emotions directed either at ourselves or the other, sometimes they can backfire upon us, rising from those ashes. So it really isn't ever a good idea to really play with fire, right? So when we are out of balance or angry, it really is time to not react. It's the time to not even act, and really to tame those innate inner fires and making friends with our inner fire so it doesn't scorch us from the inside out. And you know, I was born in a year of fire, a month of fire, an hour of fire. So I really utilize water, the essence of water, fire of the water, or water of the fire, to bring peace. Water is peace to my own inner fire. I mean, I have a little fire fairy dog, and he loves the fire, the crackling, the animals. The animals are the Wetames. And with that, you know, the Wetames are our fierce protectors. They're the citizens of nature. And even the card, the number on the card, 19, which is actually fire, but it's manifesting our heart's desires through an action to manifest into the physical realm, our sacred space. So we really need to meditate. Hold space for what our heart desires and use fire as an asset. Following fire, you know, flowing with fire. So with that, you know, as we move along, and I find it curious that the first card is usually representation of the South. So we are rising from the ashes. And next up, we have the Rattle. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's 43 in the corner. But that is innovating our beliefs and committing to that innovation, those beliefs or believing. So we can innovate, and actually, it's not committing. It's actually spiritual. It's a spiritual connection. Sorry about that. 4 and 3 make 7, not 8. So it's spiritual. It's our spiritual acumen that's coming in through innovation and believing. It really is the faith channel. So it is, right? It's some innovating of these beliefs, our heartfelt beliefs, emerging with spirit and getting those spiritual messages. Intuition might even be verbal. But the rattle is a spirit caller. I don't have a rattle. I do have a bell. Different characters come in with the bell, just saying. However, the rattle carries the power of the shaman to all of the directions, not just the 4 directions. For me, it's all time, space, realities, not just the 4, the winds of change. So the body, our own body, is similar to that of the rattle. It's like the earth is spinning on her axis. So it's with the rattle, the sound of it, it's assisting not just us, but more importantly, medicine women, where we can literally instill the frequency, a desired destiny within that future. And closing with a prayer, an invocation like, Great Spirit, may your will be done, so mote it be, so it is. You know, there's all kinds of endings. But the rattle is really guiding us to pray for all of Earth, and to meditate or mediate for her, be a personal stream in the in-between, not just for our personal needs. So when we offer these prayers or these invocation for the highest good, the highest timeline of the all, taking it to that highest timeline, where everything we need is actually provided for us under that blessing, that garden. So we really are being invited to work with the spirit of tools and the tools of spirit, and to have that conversation with spirit, but also at the same time being careful, being mindful. Sometimes our mind is sharp and it can hurt us. Words have power, especially if we are not being mindful. So setting our old ways aside, our old tools, it's time to take up a new acumen, go back to the drawing board, create something different, a new spirit room, a new altar, and just going back to the drawing board, those instruments that we can utilize to bring spirit in. So we are consciously stepping into partnership with Great Spirit, the divine, our ancestors, really. So this is time for those courageous, otherworldly memoirs, if you will, or the deeds, doing the deed. So don't let hesitation really get in the way of your own expression, of your own medicine at all. Rattle that in, chime it in, cleanse off your frequency, bells, chimes, there's all kinds of ways, chanting, which I'll get to. And then we have Contemplation, which is curious as well. It's number 9, so that's also Aries, that's also Mars. It's our interactions, our inner character, taking the action that we need possibly to complete Mars. We are at the end degrees here of the season of Aries, but everything in life has a beginning, a middle, an end stage. It's the circle of life. This really is nature, right? It's the nature of life. It's the seed, the flower, the fruit, the tree, the garden of the tree, the tree of knowledge, the tree of life, of all of human relationships, even the unseen relationships, the otherworldly relationships. So it suggests the fullness of the moment, the need to transform an old form into a new one that's complete. But the medicine is that we are clinging possibly to the old form, it's otherworldly, which is only going to bring in the decay, the rotten fruit. So when the fruit is left too long on the vine, it actually rots, or the bananas, if I don't eat them fast enough, they become rotted. So you know that it's time to really move on. Sometimes we feel a little reluctant. So don't be afraid of hurting anybody's feelings. And remember that you too are responsible for our own actions. The 9, not the action of the other, but also any action is also, any inaction, is also an action. So, mourning, grieving what's lost so that we can move on. Don't be sad. Be like the sun at midday who's always shining brightly, not longing for sunrise or sunset or dreading the dusk. It's a completion for that day. So I find that super curious, right? So we're just kind of going through it, contemplating our lives, possibly. And Beauty Way, this is our final message, which I pulled this card recently, but this is innovating our sacred space, the 4, our personal sacred space, and taking the action to innovate ourselves inward, being that we are in the season of Aries. So this all kind of tells a story, right? A magical story. It's like poetry. It's the candomblé. But beauty, beauty resides within each and every one of us. It's all perspective. But it's a path that we travel on, but it's also that day-to-day practice, our daily practice. But the path is where we choose to perceive only beauty, awakening to it before us, behind us, all around us in her glory, as we journey through this thing called life on the earth plane. But the practice is actually where we take the action, Aries and Mars, to bring beauty to every situation that we are in. And even when things are ugly, act with integrity, bring in peace to all the difficult situations, the forces of adversity to and from the universe. It is open today where we can point out the light, see the stars, and help uncover those hidden treasures, those sacred gifts. But again, it's also otherworldly. So this is like the medicine of stopping. Just stop trying to fix things that you believe are already broken. Sometimes we can fix things to the point that they are broken or they do break. And just recognizing, honestly, that things are exactly as they need to be in the moment. and acknowledge the inherent beauty within all of that. So when we understand this, we will able to bring about the change we wish to see in our world. With, don't engage in gossip about the darkness or the flaws of the others, and be careful not to be seduced by the superficial beauty, the fake beauty of a project, an event, situation, relationship, etc. Possibly you're toying with an idea unless you're willing to kind of pay a price for it later. I would kind of frequent the frequency and kind of hold space for what that feels like. And then also we have the elemental highway, what's on the elementals. We have a yang earth dog of a day. There is so much earth here, right? Feels kind of heavy to me. Feels very grounded. It's like big earth, like a mountain earth, right? So our day definitely has a foundation. It has some great mountainous friends. This is like a front of mountains. It reminds me of the Wasatch Front where I live. But it has yang wood to break it up, give it some direction, some control, breaking it up, a goal. Wood is also goals, it's end goals. It really is the goal. It's initiating, it's the ideas too, right? But being that yang earth, our day, born in the month of the dragon, the end of spring, this is when the earth is wet. It's a dominating element, even though it's spring. So during the dragon month, yang earth is actually a very dominating element. So our day is very strong. We've got a lot of yang earth here, the dog and the dragon. But when the earth is so strong like this, we need wood. We need the yang wood. It's most needed to keep the earth under that control and like loosening it up a little bit, aerating. And yin water is also necessary to bring moisture to the earth so things can grow. And metal element in combination with the water really creates the balance for our day, making earth moist and also fertile for birthing of the spring. So without water, our day would have a difficult time prospering, being prosperous. And also the sun, yang fire, will also bring in the warmth, sun to the day as well. And yang metal. So the wood, it's not overwhelming, but if we did have so much earth, we could bring that in, but it's not necessary for today's frequency. So again, yang earth is that massive mountain. It is big mountain. It's a solid rock. It's a mountain range, actually, is kind of what we have today, the mountain range, out into the forest, the big forest, and big water. This could also be big water like a lake, not just the ocean, big lakes, right? But this is developing the earth. And usually this would be somebody who has an earth career, realtors, possibly realtors, but mostly builders of the hearth, the home, the family, stability, earth related industries, steady, reliable people who we can always count on them to be there. So mountains, if you think about a mountain, they're really not that easy to move. So their main qualities are stability and support, their protection even, right? And given how hard it is to move a mountain or these people, they may become too complacent, which makes them procrastinate. And that's kind of their greatest enemy, unless there's some strong external force which would make them move. I'm thinking of a bulldozer, yang metal, to move the mountain, because they're represented by the mountain, the big mountain. They're very strong, right? But they're slow actually in making the decisions. They take their time. So they're similar to Saturn, Father Time, in that arena. And everybody literally loves to tell the stories to the mountain, their secrets. However, they don't like sharing them on their own. So a lot of times I do send people to the mountain to do a ritual, to speak to the mountain, because the big mountain is also mystical. It's been here for time eternity. It's big earth. And we also have the dragon, where mountains can actually turn into a dragon. But once we get to know the mountain, that's when the mountain opens up, whether in ritual or otherwise, a person. That's when the mountain becomes chatty, it becomes fun, it becomes otherworldly. But being, I'm talking about people as well, a mountain, a young earth person often changes their mind, which also drives people crazy around them, because even though they are the mountain, They should be grounded. Sometimes they're not, but they love to do things on their own, and they really love to take their time. They love to lay the foundation, the groundwork. And as much as that really is a good thing, it can also backfire, because Earth people tend to do that procrastination station thing. So they tend to be stubborn. Sometimes too much Earth can actually make a person appear lazy, but they always achieve success on their own pathway, their own way. And they don't really need the nurturing from others, right? They often don't offer it either way, because they're the mountain. And it does not do any good for people to go to the mountain, right? A person who is mountainous. But I would say go to the mountain and speak your truth. They really, they don't need anybody. They develop their own talents, their own gifts. They're really capable of doing all of this on their own. They're self-sufficient, you know, a mountain. They already have everything there. So as long as they don't have to rely on the other, they are emotionally stable. They're going to strive to do whatever they commit or decide to do. And being that they stick to their own moral code in their quest to do what is right, what is necessary in all the decisions that they make, integrity makes up most of them. They have integrity. So it's as if when we second guess our own decisions at times, which we do, in a quest to choose the right thing, that is actually when we make those mistakes, second guessing ourselves. So today really is the day with the full moon on the horizon to go on a vision quest and actually prepare for the full moon with those intentions. But these people go to the mountain. This frequency is going to inspire trust, because the frequency puts others first, to the extent that they would rather change their own ways when others find it difficult to shift, adapt, or change to what they want. And they also have this excessive sensitivity to the perception of the other, which often makes them weak-willed. So they're prone to making rash decisions because emotions really rule them in the decision-making factor. So they often tend to be stubborn, like a mountain. You can't just move it. Illogical, because they don't see reason as the priority, that mountaintop perspective, that point of view. But they're also, they contemplate, which I found curious, is that's one of our cards today. So I would say contemplate what your process is. Don't make any rash decisions, and value the otherworldly perceptions more than anything else, that mountaintop perspective. So act on our gut, act on our feelings. No need to be a perfectionist, even though this frequency does carry that. Sometimes we go around in circles, which often leads to just more procrastination. Frequency of the day, though, if this was a person or otherwise, with the moon, you know, family should be extremely important. It's young earth. That's what these people also do. And if you have great support from your parents, sibling, the family, you can take on the world, even if other parts in your lives aren't doing so well. So it's as long as we can find peace, which is water, and reconciliation within the family, you're going to be fine. Especially if your family is broken, you have to frequent the frequency of peace and reconcile what's broken. However, besides family, love relationships, any kind of love, relationships that are loving is another thing where we find the peace and also the purpose. That's the frequency of our day. So family and love are very supportive to the mountain. Feeling fully inspired, emotionally prepared for any of the challenges, the forces of adversity, difficulties that life is putting on our platter and offering to us. But being that our day is strong, it's very strong, it prefers the forest, which we have. Yangwood is a forest, lots of old wise trees, and also yin water. Yin water would be like the rivers, the bubbling spring, a mist of rain, to bring in that balance. But a young earth person, and even the frequency of today, they're like volcanoes. So things might erupt today. They are the mountain. So this is an old wise volcano, old earth, the origin of earth. So these emotions are held deep down. So when a volcano erupts, you have to kind of ponder, is the earth speaking? Like she's emotionally disrupted kind of frequency. And when those emotions, they become unbearable, they do explode. sometimes it's surprising to the village, the people around them. So a mountain, even though it's big, right? Mountainous, mountains do need their space and they do need to go at their own pace. Flowing along, very mountain morphology is more a body, honestly, kind of troll-like bodies. They're very rectangular, not square. But to find their way, to find a good space and a good pace to find their way to deal with them, it's on an emotional level because nothing else is going to work. It's the mountain. And once those conditions have been met, they have the support. They're highly creative, more than likely successful because they're persistent, trustworthy, kind, down to earth, stable, realistic, centered. So some famous people with a young earth day master, not necessarily this chart, believe it or not, Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know if I've said that one before, Hillary Clinton, Eric Clapton, who I love, Elizabeth Taylor, beautiful, just to name a few, and even Steve Wozniak. So I found that pretty curious, just knowing that Steve Jobs is a young fire, or yin fire. But being that today is really the highest spiritual energy of who we are, it's just energy that's connecting us to our higher self, also to our Sira, which who doesn't love our Sira? Hang on, I'm going back to my Freaky Friday because I love that. Bringing in the mountain to that perspective, the mountaintop perspective, a place for change, shifting, transformation, taking the action, going on a mission. Kind of reminds me again of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but the energy is actually quiet. It is water. It is peaceful. It's almost serene, bringing in all these elements like a mountain, right? We may have an agenda of different items that we want to accomplish or wish to, but today is better to be served upon the platter of reflection, on our spiritual perspective, the waters, and going to the mountain, investing in our own personal spiritual acumen, a practice, a ritual that's going to reap a reward, more so today, actually, than any other day. We've got a lot of mountain there. So just in combination with our spiritual acumen, our spiritual energy, and along with doing things that are in the physical realm, because sometimes we often all are about ascending, not realizing we have to descend too. It's combination, right? You have to need the soil. So breath work, taking a breath, taking a pause, climbing, hiking, chanting, moving through things, that really is going to open up the corridor going to our altars. So it really is a day to check in with our soul's harmonic, to meditate on the pathways that are before us, just like river streams break away different pathways. And you're going to know until this moment, being that the full moon is really on her way, we may just have been pretty logical. Maybe we've been too goal orientated. Maybe we have been too far out into the outer realms or the rims, out into our auric fields, our light bodies. So the perspective we have, it's that perspective with compassion, mercy, forgiveness to ourselves, but also to the other as we journey forward into the galactic future. So, maybe ask yourself, how compassionate have you been being to yourself, to creation, to planning, to goals? There's no need to be hard on ourselves. Are we working to make things easier, or are we making things harder because we're being too strict? We're being hard like our mountain. We've got a mountain range that also needs water, not so much the yang water. Yang water is also, it's big, but it can be still. I'm thinking of Scorpio as like still water. Cancer is a bubbling spring. Neptune, Pisces is the ocean. All these visuals I go to, right? But also, have we looked into different implications on our spiritual side, these different aspects of what we are doing? So looking through really the eye of God, the spiritual acumen through the whole soul's harmonic, these are where the patterns kind of sit. So we really want to avoid repeating those patterns, those past mistakes. They show up with different faces, right? Or different places, even situation. So it really isn't a good idea to go back into a situation to give it another try. Again, it could be another place, person, or place situation because we haven't got the memo, which is interesting. But, most of those stories of success, the characters in those roles, they're often moving onto something different, a different way of being. It's almost like the Big Bang, which I talked about in my podcast. But if you were doing things out of feeling obligated, if you're doing things feeling guilty or blaming, shaming, or as a duty, a spiritual duty, sometimes I see religious does this, the duty kind of fragments things, but where you feel like you're failing or falling into this karmic cycle, the spiritual cosmic debris, the cosmic cobwebs in the closet. The healthiest direction or the pathway or the highway is always to go with the space of love channeled, the channeling intention that's inspired through our heart from a space of loving those choices authentically and also loving the challenges that are going to come with it. There's always a blessing on the other side. But the right choices, oftentimes do create problems that we wish to have. I mean, there's some problems I wish to have. Maybe I'm so busy that's a problem, right? So I would say meditate on your intentions, especially for the full moon today. Feel into the pathways, the streams, feeling into what it's going to feel like. And if anything feels off, it really is time to separate the sacred space between those streams, while at the same time tapping into our intuition, meditating on the transformation of the plans that we wish to see. I'm thinking of Gandhi, be the change we wish to see in the world, whether it's in our own personal sphere of influence, relationships, sacred circles, home friends, whatever that is, romance, whatever, really. So it's coming up in these threadways, and just make sure that our intentions are really in alignment with our own heart's values on that spiritual front, our spiritual acumen. So really anything that comes up that gives you the feeling of disgust or anything lower frequency stuff, that really is an alert signal. It's a warning, and we should listen authentically, take it seriously, because our body never lies. It has its own signaling system. So along with looking into what our future looks like, being the change we want to see in our future, cleaning out the house if you feel like it, the village as well. It's like, where do we need to shift our boundaries, and where does our life need to transform and do the changes in the forefront, on the mountain front, right? Into the future, and just reflect your highest spiritual timeline, your highest spiritual self, your Sira, what you look like in the other dimension. And, are those changes going to bring out your authenticity, your soul authenticity, the best side of you? So just kind of compare your earth plans with your spiritual ingenuity, your in-spirit you, utilizing wisdom, compassion, forgiveness, mercy, stay connected, utilizing all the juice, connected to spirit, right? Connection to the divine, the great spirit. And even those relationship changes, those shifts in relationships that are happening today, they're going to be happening. Most likely they're tied to a karmic cycle where we're cycling through the patterning of those relationships. You might just find yourself looking in the same mirror of a relationship that you thought you were over, but it's going to try and tug its way back in. So if there is a change of those relationships happening, it's going to feel prevalent in our energetic field, our auric field. So it really is time to clear the path, find clarity, reconciliation. It really is the best day to really work out those spiritual issues within those relationships. However, if you're deciding to stay or deciding to go, you may possibly need another day to know for sure, not to jump into that so quickly without thoughts, right? So really pay attention to those energetic hiccups, those spiritual messages. They're actually probably going to come in and through today, especially about relational channels, our heart space. So with the messages, the mountain front, the Wasatch Front, the mountains, I would really go to the mountains, speak to the mountains. You don't necessarily have to be at a mountain, but you can be looking at a mountain, having the conversation with it. and really sit and intuit those intentions that you have for the moon. This Libra moon is really in that juice, that frequency. We've gone from healing our inner corridor, having some integrity there, the past, and now we're flowing into committing to these relationships, Libra, and opening up to receiving the memos, the messages, which is our throat center, verbal intuition, our ears, setting the stage for our own awareness. Like, who are we authentically going to become over this upcoming year into the following season, 2023 of Aries? So it carries forth. It's a wave, right? So who you are, is that in alignment with who you are becoming authentically? So we're switching gears. We're coming out of hibernation. We're done watching this movie that's been going on for the past 2 years. Just having faith, tuning into spirit, our ancestors, the angelic beings, the archangels, Ariel's online too with this moon, the beings of nature, the beings that are elemental, the unseen, the eyes of the unseen. So it's like the I am, like who am I or who are you? Say yes to all of these awarenesses that come in, these awarenesses, because we have this connection, the I am connection, and also spirit connection, birthing through who we are, being in the season we are in. So just be ready for the juice, pouring that juice into your own personal cosmic chalice. Our soul is inspired, our spirit's awakened. We have been in alignment, patiently waiting for this moment. And our higher self is there, our Sira. So bring in the fires to really scorch away anything that creates the mountain or blocking our way, contemplating beauty in all of the discovery, beauty of what it is, see the beauty in it all. Where we have arrived for this moment, it is time, it's divine timing, it's dive intuity. So with that and the bounty of the moon, our throat center's online, our spiritual connection, the solar plexus. So it's almost as if we are our own tuning fork. So really be aware of the frequency that you are attuning to. Maybe you need a tune up, you know, how they tune up chords. I'm thinking of a guitar string, or a harp or something like that. But I would really do a full body chanting, really getting into that state of awareness, connecting to our intuition within our solar plexus, our sacral, and holding the line of faith and seeing the higher octave through the eye of God, the soul's harmonic, all the patterns and the symbols and all the juices in there. But I would affirm, you know, that I am on my own highway, my own frequency, my authentic higher timeline. And just be patient, be kind, compassionate, be in alignment, in integrity, and in the streams of peace as well. And with all of that, thanks for tuning in. And as always, I will see you on the other side. Tomorrow's a little iffy for me, but I will be doing rituals. And if you're doing some, please share. I always like to hear what other people are doing on the ritual front to bring in the blessings of a full moon or a new moon or anything, actually. With that, I will, as always, see you on the other side. Thanks for tuning in, liking, and sharing. But remember, too, I will pull a card for you if you're tuning in, if you share or like a video, mostly commenting, actually, for some of you. But again, I'll see you on the other side. Ashe.